You kissed her!
It was just a dare, Evie. Why are you making this such a big deal?
It's a big deal!
You are just getting paranoid.
Are you even listening to yourself? You are just a dickhead and I'm sure you enjoyed it!
Listen to me, Evie. It was just a dare.
Don't you dare touch me! I hate you!
A dare, she repeated, her voice flat. You kissed another girl because someone dared you to. Seojin ran his hand through his hair. That same gesture he always used when he was frustrated. It meant nothing. She means nothing. You're the one I... Don't. Evie stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Several heads turned their way. Don't tell me I'm the one you want when you had your tongue down someone else's throat 3 hours ago. Evie, come on. We're done, Seojin. She grabbed her bag and pushed through the cafe door before he could see the tears threatening to spill. The early November evening wrapped around her as she walked quickly down the street, away from the cafe, away from him, away from the humiliation of being the girlfriend who wasn't enough. Her phone buzzed. Seojin's name flashed across the screen. She declined the call and turned down a side street she didn't usually take, wanting to put as much distance between them as possible. The street was quieter here, older buildings with fewer streetlights. Her nursing school was only 20 minutes away if she cut through this neighborhood. She'd walked these streets before, always in daylight, always with Mirai chattering beside her. Tonight, alone, they felt different. Her phone buzzed again. This time, she powered it off completely and shoved it into her bag. That's when she heard it. A low, pained groan coming from the alley ahead. Evie slowed, every instinct telling her to keep walking. Seoul was safe, but this neighborhood, at this hour, alone. She should keep moving. Another groan, weaker this time. Her nursing training kicked in before her comments. Sense could stop her. She turned into the alley, her eyes adjusting to the darkness. A man was slumped against the brick wall, one hand pressed to his side. Even in the dim light, she could see the dark stain spreading across his shirt, the way his breathing came in shallow, labored gasps. Oh my God, Evie breathed, rushing forward. She dropped to her knees beside him, her hands automatically going to assess the injury. Sir, can you hear me? I'm a nursing student. I can help. Her hand touched the wetness at his side. Blood. So much blood. I'm calling an ambulance, she said, reaching for her bag. His hand shot out and gripped her wrist. The strength in that grip made her gasp. No hospitals, he rasped in accented English. Evie looked at his face for the first time. Strong features, sharp jawline, dark eyes that held hers with an intensity that made her breath catch despite the obvious pain he was in. He couldn't have been Korean. No, he was. But there was something different about him, something that set him apart. You're bleeding, she said, trying to keep her voice steady, professional. You need medical attention? No, hospitals. Each word seemed to cost him. She started to argue, started to pull her wrist free, when his shirt shifted. The tattoo sprawled across his chest, partially visible through the blood-soaked fabric. A white tiger, fierce and beautiful, rendered in stunning detail. Evie's blood ran cold. She'd seen that symbol before, on the news, in whispered conversations among her Korean classmates. The Baeko clan, one of Seoul's most powerful criminal organizations. I have to go, she whispered, trying to pull away. But his grip tightened. Finish what you started. I don't, please. The word was barely audible, his strength fading. Help me. Evie looked into his eyes and saw something she didn't expect. Not cruelty, not threat, just desperate need. The same look her brother had when, no, she couldn't think about that now. If I help you, she heard herself say, then what? You can't stay here. Someone will find you. Your place. He coughed, blood flecking his lips. Take me somewhere safe. You're insane. I don't even know you. You could be dangerous? A ghost of a smile crossed his face. I am. But right now, I need you. Every rational thought screamed at her to run. Call the police. Get away from this man and whatever violence had put that bullet in him. But her hands were already moving, already applying pressure to the wound, already calculating how much blood he'd lost and how long he had before shock set in completely. "This is insane," she muttered, looking around the alley. "This is completely insane." They made it to the entrance, up the stairs. Thank God she was only on the second floor. Down the hallway, Evie fumbling with her keys while supporting his weight. The door opened. They stumbled inside. Evie kicked the door shut and helped him to her small couch. He collapsed onto it with a groan that made her wince. "Stay here," she ordered, already moving to her bathroom where she kept her nursing supplies. "Don't move." She returned with her med kit, scissors, antiseptic, gauze. Everything she'd practiced with in clinical rotations, but never thought she'd use like this. "I need to see the wound," she said, kneeling beside the couch. He nodded, starting to pull his shirt up. Evie used the scissors to cut away the fabric, peeling it back carefully. The wound was a graze, the bullet having carved a deep furrow across his ribs, but not lodging inside. Lucky. Unlucky. She wasn't sure which. As she worked, cutting away more of the shirt to access the injury, more of the tattoo was revealed. The white tiger seemed to prowl across his chest, magnificent and terrifying. She tried not to look at it, tried not to think about what it meant. "This is going to hurt," she warned, dousing gauze with antiseptic. "I've had worse," he said. She pressed the gauze to the wound. His entire body went rigid, but he didn't cry out, just gritted his teeth and bore it. Evie worked quickly, cleaning the wound, applying antibiotic ointment, wrapping it with practiced efficiency. Her hands shook only slightly. She was proud of that. "You need antibiotics," she said when she finished. "Real ones, from a hospital. This could get infected. I'll handle it," he said. His eyes were closed now, his face pale. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet." Evie stood, backing away from the couch, from him. "I don't even know what I just did. Who you are. Why someone shot you." "Better you don't know," he murmured. She watched him for another moment, watched his breathing even out as exhaustion or blood loss or both pulled him toward unconsciousness. Then she grabbed her phone with shaking hands and walked to her tiny bathroom, shutting the door. She powered on the phone. 17 missed calls from Seojun. She ignored them all and dialed Mireille. Her friend answered on the first ring. "Evie, where are you? Seojun called me looking for you, and..." "Mireille," Evie cut her off, her voice barely above a whisper. "I think I'm in trouble." "What? What kind of trouble? Where are you?" "I'm home. Evie looked at herself in the bathroom mirror. There was blood on her hands, on her shirt. "I helped someone. Someone I shouldn't have helped." "You're not making sense. Are you okay? Do you need me to come over?" "No." The word came out too sharp. "No, don't come over. I'm fine. I needed to hear your voice." "Evie, you're scaring me." "I'm sorry. I'm just tired. It's been a long day." "Did something happen with Seojun? He said you broke up with him." "Yeah, we did. Look, I have to go. I'll call you tomorrow, okay?" "Evie." She hung up before Mireille could ask more questions. Then she slid down the bathroom wall and sat on the cold tile floor, hugging her knees to her chest. There was a man bleeding on her couch, a criminal, a member of the Beko clan, and she had just saved his life. What had she done? Evie didn't know how long she sat there. Eventually, she forced herself to stand, to wash the blood from her hands, to change into clean clothes. When she emerged from the bathroom, the man was unconscious on her couch, his chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. She grabbed a blanket from her closet and draped it over him carefully, avoiding the bandaged wound. Then she sat in the chair, across from him, and watched him breathe, waiting for morning, waiting for whatever came next, waiting to find out if she'd just made the biggest mistake of her life. The morning light crept through Evie's thin curtains, painting the small apartment in shades of gray and gold. She hadn't slept. Every time she'd closed her eyes, she'd jolted awake, certain she'd heard something. Footsteps in the hallway, voices outside her door, the click of a gun. But the only sound had been the stranger's breathing, steady and deep on her couch. She'd spent the night watching him, studying his face in the darkness. Even in sleep, There was a hardness to his features, a tension that never quite left. His jaw was strong, his hair falling across his forehead. He looked younger in sleep, but not innocent. Never innocent. The white tiger tattoo rose and fell with each breath, a constant reminder of what he was. Now, as dawn broke, Evie stood and moved quietly to the kitchen. Her legs were stiff from sitting in the chair all night. She put on water for coffee, needing something to do with her hands, something normal. The kettle whistled. She poured the water, the smell of instant coffee filling the small space. "You stayed." Evie spun around, nearly dropping the cup. The man was awake, sitting up on the couch, watching her with those dark, penetrating eyes. She set the cup down carefully. "You're in my apartment. Where else would I go?" He studied her for a long moment, and she fought through the urge to look away. In the daylight, he was even more imposing than he'd been last night. The tattoo seemed to glow against his skin, the white tiger fierce and proud. "Why did you stop to help me?" he asked, his voice rough from sleep or pain or both. Evie crossed her arms over her chest, suddenly aware of how vulnerable she felt in her own home. "I told you, I'm a nursing student. I couldn't just..." "You could have." He leaned back against the couch, wincing slightly. "Most people would have, especially once you saw this." He gestured to the tattoo. She had no answer to that. He was right. She should have run the moment she saw that white tiger. Should have called the police. Should have done anything except bring him here. "Do you know who I am?" he asked. Evie shook her head slowly. "No, but I know what that symbol means." She nodded toward the tattoo. "Baco clan. I've seen it on the news. And yet you still helped me. Brought me. To your home." His eyes never left her face. That was either very brave or very stupid. Probably stupid, Evie admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Something flickered across his face. It might have been amusement. "At least you're honest. What happened to you?" The question escaped before she could stop it. "Who shot you?" "That's not your concern." "You made it my concern when you asked me to bring you here." Evie's fear was being slowly replaced by frustration. She was exhausted, terrified, and this man was sitting on her couch acting like she was the one inconveniencing him. "I saved your life. I think I deserve to know what I'm dealing with." He regarded her for a long moment. "You're dealing with something dangerous. That's all you need to know. That's not enough. It has to be." He started to stand, then stopped, his hand going to his bandaged side. The pain that crossed his face was brief but intense. Evie moved forward instinctively, her nursing training overriding her fear. "Don't. You'll tear the stitches." She stopped. "I didn't stitch you. I should have, but I don't have the supplies for that here." "It's fine." But he settled back onto the couch, breathing carefully. "It's not fine. That wound needs proper medical attention. Stitches, antibiotics, monitoring for infection. No hospitals," he said firmly. "No doctors. No police. Then you're going to die of sepsis in my living room." "I won't." He met her eyes. "I've survived worse, with less care." The casual way he said it sent a chill through her. What kind of life had he lived where bullet wounds were routine? "Why can't you go to a hospital?" she asked, even though she thought she knew the answer. "Because the people looking for me check the hospitals. Emergency rooms, clinics, anywhere someone with a gunshot wound might turn up." He paused. "You helped me. I'm grateful. But you need to understand something. Don't tell anyone I was here, not your friend. You called last night, not anyone." Evie's stomach dropped. "You heard that?" "I hear everything." His expression was unreadable. "Your life depends on keeping me a secret. Do you understand?" "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact." He leaned forward slightly, and despite his injury, there was something predatory about the movement. "The people who shot me won't hesitate to hurt anyone connected to me. If they find out you helped me, they'll come for you. And what they'll do to you will make a bullet seem merciful." The fear came flooding back, cold and sharp. "I should never have stopped," she whispered. "I should have kept walking." "But you didn't." His voice softened slightly. "You stopped. You helped. And now we both have to live with that choice." Evie sank into the chair, her legs suddenly unable to hold her. I'm not cut out for this. I help people. I don't harbor criminals. He was quiet for a moment. For what it's worth, I wish you hadn't stopped either. Your life was simpler before you found me. And now? Now it's complicated. They sat in silence, the morning sun growing stronger through the windows. Evie could hear the sounds of the building coming to life around them. Neighbors leaving for work, someone's television playing too loudly, the hiss of a shower running somewhere overhead. Normal sounds, a normal morning. Except nothing about this was normal. I need to know, she said finally, what that tattoo means. Who you really are. He shook his head. No, you don't. Yes, I do. If I'm risking my life by having you here, I deserve to know why. Knowing won't make you safer. It will make you a target. I'm already a target. Evie stood, her frustration boiling over. You just said they'll come for me if they find out I helped you. So I'm already in danger. The least you can do is tell me what I'm in danger from. He watched her pace, his expression unreadable. You have courage, he said finally. That's good. You'll need it. Stop deflecting and answer the question. If I tell you who I am, I'll have to kill you. He said it calmly, matter-of-factly, as if he were discussing the weather. And I need you alive, at least for now. The casual cruelty of it hit her like a physical blow. You're a monster. Yes, he agreed simply. I am, which is why you should have left me in that alley to bleed out. Evie stared at him. This stranger who'd invaded her life, her home, her sense of safety. She should hate him, should be calling the police right now, consequences be damned. But she couldn't stop seeing the way he'd looked at her last night, that desperate need in his eyes. Couldn't stop thinking about her brother, bleeding out while people walked by. I need you to leave, she said quietly. As soon as you can move safely, you need to go. I will. 2 days, maybe 3, once I'm strong enough. 2 days? Evie's voice rose. You can't stay here for 2 days. I have classes, I have clinical rotations, I have a life, he finished. I know. And you'll continue living it. Go to your classes, act normal. If you want to stay alive, you'll make sure no one has reason to come looking for you. This is insane. This is survival. Evie's phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it, Mireille's name flashing across the screen. Answer it, he said. Act normal. Tell her you're fine. Her hand shook as she picked up the phone. Hello? Evie, finally. You scared me last night. What happened? Evie looked at the man on her couch, at the white tiger sprawled across his chest, at the danger she'd invited into her life. Nothing happened, she heard herself say. I was just tired, stressed about the breakup with Seojun. Are you sure? You sounded really freaked out. I'm sure. I needed to hear a friendly voice, you know? Mireille's sigh of relief was audible. Okay, good. I was worried. Do you want to get breakfast? We can talk about what happened. With that jerk. I can't. I have to study. Rain check? Sure, but Evie? If you need anything, I'm here. You know that, right? I know. Evie's throat tightened. Thank you, Mireille. She hung up and set the phone down carefully, as if it might shatter. Good, the man said. You're a convincing liar. I'm not a liar, Evie shot back. You are now. He shifted on the couch, his jaw tightening with pain. Welcome to my world. Evie wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly cold despite the warm apartment. I don't want to be in your world. Neither do I, sweetheart. Neither do I. And just like that, Evie's whole world changed. She stopped for a stranger bleeding in an alley, a stranger with a white tiger tattoo and enemies she doesn't even know about yet. Tell me something. Have you ever done something that went completely against your better judgment just because it felt like the right thing to do? Drop it in the comments. I want to know. Welcome to Seoul. Afro Stories, where love is dangerous, hearts are complicated, and nobody ever falls for the right person at the right time. If this story already has your heart racing, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications, because you do not want to miss what happens to Evie next. And where are you watching from tonight? Drop your city, your country. Let me see my people. Evie couldn't remember a longer day in her life. She'd left for campus at 8:30, hyper-aware of the man in her apartment, of the risk she was taking, of how completely her life had spiraled out of control in less than 12 hours. The nursing lecture might as well have been in a foreign language. She stared at her notes without seeing them, her professor's voice washing over her like white noise. All she could think about was the white tiger tattoo, the blood on her hands, the casual way he'd said, "I'll have to kill you." "Evie?" She jerked her head up. Professor Kim was looking at her expectantly, along with the rest of the class. "I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?" A few students snickered. Professor Kim's expression was patient but concerned. "I asked about the stages of wound healing. You usually have good insights on this." "Wound healing. Right." Evie forced herself to focus. "Hemostasis, inflammation, proliferation, and remodeling," she recited. "The initial response stops bleeding through platelet aggregation and clot formation. Then, her mind flashed to the stranger's wound, to the blood soaking through his shirt, to her hands applying pressure. Then the inflammatory phase begins," she continued, pushing through. "White blood cells arrive to prevent infection and start cleaning the wound. The proliferative phase builds new tissue, and finally remodeling strengthens and reorganizes the scar tissue over time." Professor Kim nodded, but her eyes lingered on Evie with concern. "Are you feeling all right? You look tired." "Just didn't sleep well," Evie said. The most honest thing she'd said all day. At lunch, Mireille found her sitting alone in the courtyard, picking at kimbap she had no appetite for. "Okay, spill," Mireille said, dropping into the seat across from her. "What's really going on? And don't say nothing, because I've known you for 2 years, and I can tell when something's wrong." Evie's chest tightened. She wanted so badly to tell Mireille everything, to unburden herself of this terrible secret. But she could hear his voice in her head. "Don't tell anyone. Your life depends on it." "It's just the Seojin thing," she said, forcing herself to meet Mireille's eyes. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She stared at it, her heart racing. Was it him? Did he have her number? She answered. "Hello? Evie Thompson?" A male voice, Korean accented, polite. "Yes? This is the billing department at Seoul National University Hospital. We have a question about your recent..." She hung up, her hands shaking. "Just the hospital. Nothing sinister." But the paranoia didn't leave. She jumped at every sound, every shadow, every unexpected voice for the rest of her shift. By the time she left campus at 6 p.m., she was exhausted, wrung out, running on nothing but adrenaline and fear. The walk back to her apartment felt endless. She took the main roads, staying where there were people, lights, safety. No more shortcuts through dark alleys, not ever again. This was her last chance to call the police, to end this before it went any further. Her hand moved to her phone, but then she thought of rival gangs torturing her for information, of being found in pieces, of her mother getting a call that her daughter had been murdered in a foreign country. And she thought of him, of the pain in his eyes when he talked about his sister, of the way he'd thanked her, of something almost human beneath the danger. She unlocked the door and stepped inside. The apartment was exactly as she'd left. But it felt different, foreign, like it belonged to someone else now. He was still on the couch, but he'd moved at some point during the day. A glass of water sat on the side table, and she noticed he'd found the crackers in her cupboard. The blanket was folded neatly beside him. "You came back," he said, watching her close the door. "It's my apartment." But her voice lacked conviction. "You could have called the police from campus, told them about me." "I know, but you didn't." "No." "Why?" Evie set her bag down carefully, buying time to think. Why hadn't she? Because she was afraid? Because she was stupid? Because some broken part of her couldn't walk away from someone who needed help, even if that someone was dangerous? "I gave my word," she said finally. "I said I'd help you. 2 or 3 days, you said. I can do 2 or 3 days." He studied her for a long moment. "You kept your word. That's rare." "What's that supposed to mean?" "In my world, words don't mean much. Loyalty is bought, not given. Trust is a weakness." He tilted his head. "But you stopped for a stranger. You brought him to your home. You're keeping his secret, even though it terrifies you. All because you gave your word to help. I'm a nurse, Evie said. It's what we do. No, he said quietly. It's who you are. There's a difference. The words hit something deep inside her, something she didn't want to examine too closely. I need to check your wound, she said, changing the subject. See if there is any sign of infection. He nodded and started to lift his shirt. Evie moved closer, professional, detached, trying not to notice the way the fading light caught the edges of the white tiger tattoo. She peeled back the bandage carefully. The wound looked better than she'd expected. No red streaking, no purulent discharge, no fever warmth to the surrounding skin. It's healing well, she admitted. You're lucky. Well, it seems I've got 9 lives, he said. What's your name? She asked suddenly, not looking at him. It's better if you don't know. You're in my apartment, eating my food, sleeping on my couch. I think I have a right to know what to call you. He was quiet for so long, she thought he wouldn't answer. G1, he said finally. King G1. Evie's hands stilled on the knife. She'd asked, but hearing it made it real. Made him real. Evie, she said, even though he probably already knew. Evie Thompson. I know. At her surprised look, he added, Your mail is on the counter. Right, of course. She finished cooking and brought 2 bowls to the small table. Jiwon stood carefully and joined her, moving stiffly but managing. They ate in silence. Evie was surprised to find she was actually hungry. The food was good, comforting, normal. You said you've survived worse, Evie said eventually. What did you mean? Jiwon set down his chopsticks. Exactly what I said. Last night wasn't my first bullet wound. It won't be my last. That's a terrible way to live. Yes, he agreed. It is. Then why do you do it? His dark eyes met hers. Because it's all I know. Because I was born into this life and I'll probably die in it too. He paused. Because once you're in deep enough, there's no way out. There's always a way out. You sound like you believe that. I do. Then you're more optimistic than I am. But he said it gently, without mockery. Evie woke to sunlight streaming through her window and the disorienting sensation that something was wrong. Then she remembered. She sat up abruptly, her heart racing. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. She scrambled out of bed and peered around the screen. Jiwon was awake, sitting upright on the couch. Good morning, he said, as if this were normal. As if a crime lord greeting her at dawn in her own apartment was an everyday occurrence. How long have you been awake? Evie asked, pulling her robe tighter around herself. A few hours. And you've just been sitting there? I don't sleep much. He shifted slightly and she saw the tension in his jaw. The wound was bothering him, even if he wouldn't admit it. Evie moved to the kitchen, needing the ritual of making coffee to ground herself. Do you want some? Please. She made 2 cups, instant coffee, because that's all she had. When she brought his over, she noticed he'd found her first aid kit and had attempted to change his own bandages. The job was sloppy, not properly secured. Let me, she said, setting the coffee down. I can manage, I can see that. She gestured to the crooked bandage. And I can do better. Sit still. For a moment, she thought he'd argue. Then he leaned back, allowing her access to the wound. Evie worked in silence, her fingers gentle but efficient. The wound was healing remarkably well. His body was apparently as resilient as his will. Why did you stop to help me? Jiwon asked suddenly. Evie's hands paused. I told you, I'm a nursing student. That's what you do, not why you did it. His eyes were fixed on her face. Why exactly did you do it? She focused on securing the fresh bandage, avoiding his gaze. I don't know. Yes, you do. Evie's jaw tightened. Maybe I'm just stupid. Maybe I make bad decisions when I'm emotional. I'd just broken up with my boyfriend. I was upset. I wasn't thinking clearly. The words hung between them. My brother, Evie heard herself say. He was shot. Gang violence back in the States. He was just 16. Her hands stilled on the bandage. I was there. I watched him bleed out on the sidewalk while we waited for the ambulance. People walked by. Some of them looked, but they kept walking. Too afraid to get involved, too worried about getting caught up in gang business. Jiwon was very still, listening. He died before the ambulance came, Evie continued, her voice hollow, and I swore that I would never be one of those people. That if I ever saw someone bleeding, someone dying, I would stop, I would help. She finished with the bandage and stepped back. So that's why I couldn't walk past you. I'm sorry, Jiwon said, about your brother. Yeah, me too. She picked up her coffee, needing something to do with her hands. How old was your sister? The one you mentioned? His expression darkened. 14. Her name was Ji-yeon. What happened? She was killed to send a message to my father. He ran the Baeko clan before me. One of our rivals took her to prove they could get to us. His voice was flat, emotionless, but his hands were clenched into fists. They left her body where we'd find it. Evie felt sick. I'm so sorry. I was 19. I just started university, thought maybe I could have a different life. After Ji-yeon, he trailed off. There was no different life, only vengeance. And then responsibility, and then this. He gestured vaguely at himself, at his wound, at everything he represented. They sat in heavy silence. Two people bound by grief and the violence that had shaped them. Do you know who I am? Jiwon asked eventually. Really know, I mean. Beyond the tattoo. Evie shook her head. Not really. I know the Baeko symbol. I know it's connected to organized crime, that's all. Good. He leaned forward slightly, his eyes intense. Keep it that way. Don't tell anyone I was here. Not your friend, not anyone. Your life depends on it. You keep saying that, Evie said, frustration creeping into her voice. But you won't tell me what I'm supposed to be afraid of. Everything. The single word was heavy with meaning. She wanted to argue, to demand more information. But the look on his face stopped her. This wasn't a threat. It was a warning born of experience. She had blood on her hands, his blood, and instead of running, she stayed. Let that sink in for a second. This girl had every reason to leave, every single reason. A dark alley, a strange man, a tattoo she recognized from the news, enemies she doesn't even know exist yet, and she still said, I gave my word. I gave my word. To a criminal, in her own apartment. Meanwhile, Seojun is somewhere calling her phone 17 times, thinking this is about a kiss. Baby, if only you knew. But also, did you feel what happened at that table when they ate together in silence? When he watched her and she pretended not to notice? When he said it's who you are like he'd been studying her longer than one night? Because I did. I felt all of it. And we haven't even gotten to the good part yet. Do you think Seojun deserves a second chance? Or did he lose Evie the moment she turned into that alley and found someone who has put her life in danger? And what about Evie? Do you think she stopped for that stranger because of her brother? Or was something else pulling her in that she hasn't admitted to herself yet? Because I have a theory. And part 2 is going to prove it. What are you feeling after part 1? Give me one word. Just one. I'll start. Terrified. Because Evie is in that apartment thinking she's just helping a stranger survive. She has absolutely no idea she's the one who won't survive this. Not with her heart intact anyway. Part 2 is coming, and I promise you nothing will be the same after it. Subscribe. Share this. Tag someone who needs this story in their life today. And if you're watching this at midnight unable to sleep now, good. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. Seoul Afro Stories. Ready for part 2?